So I had wanted to do this video a while back, a video on Rush Limbaugh, in memory of Rush Limbaugh. People might find it odd that I'm a fan of Rush Limbaugh's. I quit listening to him for the past, I'd say about 3.5 years due to the fact that he kind of became a mouthpiece for the Trump regime, okay? However, he did call out Trump on some very important things, like when Trump said, "Why don't we just take the guns?" Rush Limbaugh did call him out on that, which was, consistent with Rush's policies. What people don't grasp, and this is what's so dangerous about current politics, people considered Rush Limbaugh, I had somebody on my Twitter refer to him as a fearmonger. Rush Limbaugh was not a fearmonger. If anything, Rush Limbaugh was a voice of reason and humor in a political landscape that is just plain insane. Absolutely crazy, the political landscape. Especially in the past, since the Obama administration. This is what people don't understand. I'm not a Ronald Reagan conservative. I would consider myself, if I'm anything in U.S. Political understanding, I would be a Roosevelt progressive. I would be a Teddy Roosevelt or even a Franklin Roosevelt progressive. I am not I'm not what would be considered a Ronald Reagan conservative. Never have been. At a time I could be considered a paleo conservative. Never been a libertarian, although I was registered with the Libertarian Party, but I've never been a libertarian, never been on this neocon type thing, and I've never been a Ronald Reagan conservative. However, that doesn't mean that I can't grasp where these people are coming from or that I can't find Rush Limbaugh entertaining. The problem, I think, is what people don't understand about Limbaugh. Limbaugh, first and foremost, was an entertainer. Plain and simple. Okay? His job was to, and he did a great job of educating people on conservatism and the virtues of conservatism. Social conservatism as well as fiscal conservatism. And I did he actually agreed with me on one important thing. Basically, now this isn't his words, this is my words, but you can't be fiscally conservative and socially liberal. Basically, if you say that you're fiscally conservative and socially liberal, basically what that means is you're a greedy pervert. That's basically what that means. Despite what people might want to think, that's what that means. You can't be socially liberal and fiscally conservative. It doesn't exist. Now, with me, I don't fit into the conservative bent. I never really did. As I said, I'm more of a Roosevelt-style progressive. But I grew up listening to Rush. If anything, people have been saying that Limbaugh is some kind of crazy racist. Like, if you watch The View hates everybody. I thought it was funny because apparently I never heard him call Joy Behar Maud Behar after, Maud, the sitcom character. And she took that as a badge of honor to be compared to Maud, okay? Well, the thing is, that's an absolute joke to be compared to Maud, okay? Maud was made up by a liberal that I think he made the show The Jeffersons and even Sanford and Son. I think it was the same guy and All in the Family. These were liberal propaganda shows. And Maud was to make fun of the crazy liberals that are the reason that the liberal propaganda wasn't making it the way that it should be. Actually, what's funny is that kind of liberal propaganda is what led to Ronald Reagan conservatism, because people were so fed up with this socially liberal, political correct nonsense that had literally destroyed the country with stagflation and everything else. Not that Ronald Reagan was really any better, but the fact of the matter is, what made Reagan conservatism possible was the kind of liberalism promoted by Maud. And Joy Behar, I really loved when Tulsi Gabbard put her in her place I think it was about 2 years ago now, but I loved that when she was accusing Gabbard of being a Russian agent, okay? But essentially what I'd like to say is all these people saying that Limbaugh is some kind of racist or something like that. That was one of the things Howard Stern said, because Howard Stern was jealous of the fact that Rush Limbaugh was the #1 listened to talk radio show host in the country, and had been for, I think, 30 years, or maybe a little less than that, but about 30 years he was the most listened to talk radio show host in the country. And Rush Limbaugh basically single-handedly created the conservative media. And he single-handedly created, or I should say resurrected, AM radio. Like, my grandfather was a big AM radio listener. We always listened to KYW and, all that stuff in the car and have you. But really, real AM talk radio for people like me to listen to was resurrected by Rush Limbaugh. It didn't exist. He's the reason that Glenn Beck exists, although I hate Glenn Beck. He's the reason that Mark Levin, Michael Savage. Michael Savage I actually like, although Michael Savage blocked me on Twitter because he's an Israeli, he's all about the Israelis. But what's funny is he did not block me for my views on Israel. I've consistently said that I disagree with him on Israel. He didn't block me for my views on Israel. He blocked me because of my views on Martin Luther King, because he wanted to show how the left was misrepresenting King, when I said, oh, no. The left is perfectly representing King's dream, because King was an anti-American communist Bolshevik funded by Cuba, funded by the USSR, and also funded by his extortion by threatening to riot in cities that did not give him money. So, yes, King's vision is dealt with very properly by BLM and other similar groups. And that's why Michael Savage blocked me. But long story short, I grew up listening to Rush on the radio. When Rush had a TV show, I watched the Rush Limbaugh show. As I said, he was a voice for reason and humor and entertainment. And people that don't grasp that don't understand that a lot of what he said was meant to have a bit of humor in it, and he did educate quite a bit. In fact, the Rush Revere books, I didn't read any of them, but I thought it was wonderful for him to put out a series of books for children that showed the mythology. Not really, I don't think it's the facts, I didn't read the books, but more the American mythos of how this country was formed, with some, like the videos I made. But mine wasn't the mythos, mine was more of the facts about Puritanism and Quakerism and things like that, and how this forged this republic out of nothing, out of wilderness. And that's what a lot of people forget is, and the Limbaugh family. What people don't understand is Limbaugh comes from the Limbaugh family, which is a very prominent Republican family from Missouri. They're good people. You know what I mean? That's what people forget. They think. I remember there was during George W. Bush's presidency. I remember that George H.W. Bush, George Bush, George W. Bush, and Jeb Bush had called. They were hanging out together, and they actually called into the Rush Limbaugh show, and Limbaugh actually gave them airtime, and they were expressing their love of Rush Limbaugh for what Rush Limbaugh was doing for the American people. Okay, and I respect George H.W. Bush. George W. Bush. That Iraq war, that really, that really affected my desire to respect George W. Bush. But the Bush family, I do think, ultimately was good for this country, despite what people think. A lot of people have this hatred of oligarchs and what have you, but I think the Bush family is in the same vein as the Roosevelt family. The Kennedy family, I don't know about them, but well, John F. Kennedy I'm a fan of, but the rest of them, but my point is that people that have been admonishing Rush and taking this as an excuse to call him a racist, if anything, Rush Limbaugh was the birther of this idiotic magic dirt conservatism. And what is magic dirt conservatism? And this is the thing, I'm not disrespecting Rush. I disagree with him heavily on this point. Very heavily on this point. Rush believed in magic dirt conservatism, or what I call magic dirt conservatism. And what that is this idea that if you fill this republic with as many people from the third world as possible, but you introduce them to conservatism, that will work. That they will then magically become productive, and that they will be able to replace the founding stock of this country. And I don't buy that. I don't think that that's reality. And I think that type of reasoning is what has unfortunately led to what I would call U.S. colonialism, which thank God, I don't really believe, I'm a pantheist, but thank God that Tulsi Gabbard is at least one voice for bringing back this ridiculousness of American colonialism and focusing our resources back on this republic. But I think magic dirt conservatism is unfortunately what birthed this new age neocon idea, and neoliberal, but neocon, let's face it, neoliberals are neocons. There's no such thing as a neoliberal, okay? They're one big monolithic crap pot of, ridiculous people. Nancy Pelosi and Trump, not too different, okay? But this idea that we can transplant our Republican ideals into other countries. Well, they call it democracy building. It's not. We're trying to transplant our republicanism into people that don't want it, like Afghanistan. What was funny is I remember on the History Channel, I forget the documentary, they had interviews with Soviet soldiers that served in the Soviet Afghanistan war. And they flat out said, these people don't want what we're bringing them. And the thing is, a lot of people like to say how terrible the Soviet Union was, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, the Soviet Union wasn't the greatest country on earth, but neither is the United States anymore. The fact of the matter is, citizens of the Soviet Union had similar rights to the United States. It was similar to the United States in many ways. And like some of these people were saying, I forget the name of the thing, this is going back like 20 years I watched this on the History Channel. And you had Soviet soldiers flat out, we're bringing them medicine, we're bringing them food, we're bringing them civilization, and they don't want it. They're meeting us with bullets. And they were explaining to the U.S., you don't want to go into this part of the world. They do not want us there. And this is a dead-on result of what I think is magic dirt conservatism. The idea that you can take any group of people and give them, and this idea that if you give them our system, our tools, that they can build whatever. Now, like I said, the USSR was very similar to the United States, but had a very different concept about how it was run. Do you know who has a concept that's almost exact to us, that has a constitution almost exact to us? That would be Liberia, which was a colony of the United States. Last time I checked, Liberia is far more dissimilar to the United States than is the USSR. Okay, so people need to, or the USSR was. So people need to take into consideration that it's not necessarily the tools of governance or the systems of governance that create similar structures. The Great Britain is very similar to the United States, okay? Very similar to the U.S. is Great Britain, but Great Britain is very different in the sense you don't have the same rights as you do as a British subject that you do as a U.S. citizen, but yet because they are so similar to us, they have a very similar lifestyle. Same thing with Germany is pretty different from the United States, but they have a similar thing going on in Germany. It's not necessarily the system of governance, it's the people that make up the country. There is a biological root to civilization, governance. People get the governments they deserve, and that's why the United States is run like a hellhole now, is because of the people that make up this country. And honestly, what's funny is I believe what destroyed this country, unlike Rush, because Rush was a big believer in immigration and bringing in these people, he did start changing his tune after a while. But the thing is, the magic dirt conservatism What I believe wrecked this country was bringing in liberals from Italy, from Ireland, from Central Europe. That was the beginning of the destruction of this republic. So that's what weakened this republic, because this republic was founded on what this republic was founded on, as outlined in our founding documents, which were created in the manner they were created in because of the faulty nature of what people escaped in Europe. We are based in our national law is Roman law. Most of our local laws are Anglo-Saxon common law. In the areas that we absorbed from France and Spain, we have Spanish law and French and Napoleonic law. But the fact of the matter is, it's the people that make a country, and people get the governments they deserve. The problem is sometimes there's people like me that deserve a little better, but we're in the minority. But that's all. I just want people to understand Rush Limbaugh was a good dude. I'm leaving links to things in memory of Rush Limbaugh, including a playlist I made called In Memory of Rush Limbaugh. Remember, ultimately, Limbaugh was entertainment. And people are probably remembering, when am I going to get back to my Lent thing? Probably tonight. I wanted to build up enough days that I had enough material to make a decent length video. And that's all for this video. And my condolences to Rush Limbaugh's wife and family. It's a very sad thing that he passed away. He was himself an institution to this republic, in my opinion.